The Reverend Dr. Judy D. Cummings, Senior Pastor, New Covenant Christian Church. She is the guest of Council Member Megan Berry.
To Vice Mayor Diane Neighbors and to this distinguished council persons and guests, I do bring greetings to you on behalf of my church, New Covenant Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, and the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship, where I serve as president, and NOAH, Nashville Organized for Action and Hope. I am honored to be invited by Council Lady Megan Berry to share with you this prayer. May we pray together. O God and Creator of us all, thank you for instituting earthly government for the good of your people. Thank you for our nation with its freedoms and blessings, for those same blessings that flow down to local level government, particularly here in Davidson County. Gracious God, you have blessed the work of these men and women, and indeed, you have blessed us with a robust city. As this great body, the Metropolitan Council convenes, well aware that they have been elected by the people of Davidson County, Tennessee, bless them to make compassionate choices, casting a vote for a new and better tomorrow on behalf of those they represent and the entities that lend support. I pray, O God, for the individual members that they may take seriously this great honor to lead this complex and diverse city. I pray that they may learn from one another as together they face the demands that you, O God, and the people who trust them hold and make them accountable to. God, we understand that at this time, the responsibility on these men and women in this room is very intense. I ask you that you encourage them, strengthen them, and give them a spirit of unity that can only come from you. Thank you for these public officials and their many gifts. We ask that you please allow them to use those gifts to lead us at all times for the greater good of all people. Bless now the work of their hands, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of the minutes of our February 3rd meeting? Without objection, the minutes will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to elections and confirmations. Councilmember Chris Harmon.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Elections Committee met this evening and considered the appointment of Mrs. Tammy Kowalski to the Alarm Appeals Board, the reappointments of Ms. Cleo Duckworth, Mr. William H. Johnson, and Mr. Eliud Trevino to the Emergency Communications District Board. We considered the appointment of Ms. Erin McAnally to the Board of Fair Commissioners and the appointment of Ms. Ronette Adams-Taylor to the Stormwater Management Committee. The committee voted in favor of approval, 4 in favor, none opposed, and I would move their approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Tammy Kowalski, Cleo Duckworth, William Johnson, Eliud Trevino, Erin McAnally, and Ronette Adams-Taylor. On behalf of the entire Metropolitan Council, thank you for your willingness to serve and to donate your time and your expertise. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to resolutions. All are on the consent agenda except for RS 2015-1389. I will read them and you can let me know if there are others that need to be pulled. 1383 approves an application for the Arts Build Communities Grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to Metro Arts Commission to conduct community arts projects. 1384 approves a grant from CSX Transportation, Inc. to the Metro Nashville Fire Department for air monitoring training. 1385 approves a contract with Nashville Cares for dental services under the Ryan White program. 1386 approves a clinical training agreement between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University to provide clinical teaching experiences to Vanderbilt resident physicians. 1387 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University to provide licensed medical employees and professionals distribute antivirals in the event of a public health emergency. 1388 approves an amendment to a corporate charter of the Convention Center Authority to change the principal address and registered agent of the authority. 1390 recognizes Better Business Bureau of Nashville. 1391 recognizes Keep America Beautiful, Great American Cleanup, and designating March, April, and May 2015 as Great American Cleanup Months in Metro Nashville. 1392 recognizes the National Education Association and the Metro Nashville Education Association Read Across America Day on March the 2nd. Do any of those need to be pulled? Seeing none, I need committee reports. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On 2015, 1383, 1384, 1385, Budget and Finance voted for approval, 8-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
The Convention Bureau voted for 5 in favor, 0 against for RS 205-1388.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee for Resolution 1385, 5-4 approved. Resolution 1386, 5 approved with none opposed. Resolution 1387, 5-4 and 0. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety Beer and Regulated Beverages approved, 1384, 2-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee voted for RS 2015-1390, 1391, and 1392 by a vote of 4 in favor and none opposed, and I would move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda passes. We'll go back to RS 2015-1389, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the lawsuits brought by Pamela DeSoto against Metro government and certain Metro employees for the sum of $295,000. Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance voted 8-4-0 against a one session deferral.
We have a motion for one meeting. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Langster, did you need to be recognized?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor, for this opportunity. If I could have a moment of personal privilege, I would like to offer condolences to Mr. William and Dot Perry. They had a loss in their family. Their daughter, 52 years old, Vicki Perry, who is a Metro employee, passed away suddenly. The funeral services will be held at Schrader Lane Church of Christ, 1234 Schrader Lane on Saturday. Visitation is 11 a.m. to 12 noon. The funeral will begin at noon. Please, please remember them in their prayers as they suffer with this loss. And also, please continue to pray for the Ford family. As we all know, Mr. Bob Prinsley passed away, and his wife, Mrs. Kay Prinsley, and the rest of the family are especially needing our prayers. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Do any of these need to be pulled? Is there a motion for their approval? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bills on introduction and first reading pass. Next, we have BL 2014-989, changes .42 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for properties located at 1219, 1221 North 5th Street to permit up to 7 dwelling units. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval. Apologize. Chairman Hunt, committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you very much. Planning and zoning approved Bill 989, 540 against.
Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2015-1015, amends Metro Code pertaining to the posting of street address numbers on residential mailboxes. Councilmember Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Dow.
Yes, Codes Fair and Farmers Market Committee voted 5-4-0 against for approval.
Thank
Move
you,
approval.
Councilmember Glover. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1016 amends the Metro Code but to require building and demolition permit holders for major projects to post a sign on the property providing information about the development. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Dow.
Thank you. Codes Fair and Farmers Market voted 5-4-0 against for a 2-meeting deferral at the request of the sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. I move for deferral for 2 meetings.
We have a motion and a second for a 2-meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1018 approves a lease agreement between Metro Government and Nashville Classical, Inc. for the use of the former Ross Head Start Center located at 1310 Ordway Place. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1018, 540 against.
Councilmember Moore.
Education Committee approved 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance voted for approval, 8-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Westerholm.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1019 authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to execute a deed transferring property located at the northwest corner of 38th Avenue North and Charlotte Avenue to the state of Tennessee for use in connection with the I-40 East Ramp Improvement Project. Councilmember Pridemore.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning historical approved Bill 1019, 540 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 1019, 4 in favor and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have a housekeeping amendment, Mr. Cooper. Oh, I'm sorry, my committee report. Forget my own. Budget and Finance voted 8-4-0 against.
Great.
Now I have a housekeeping amendment I'd like to have, Mr. Cooper.
The amendment adds the amount Metro is to be compensated from the state. That amount was already included in the deed that's attached to the ordinance, but this specifically adds that amount into the ordinance itself.
Is there a second on the amendment? We have a second. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Pridemore.
I'd like to move the bill as amended, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1020 amends the Geographic Information System Street and Alley Center Line layer by abandoning a portion of alley number 160 right-of-way. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1020, 540 against.
Councilmember Harrison.
Oh, I'm sorry. Traffic and Parking, approve this 3 for, and 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1021 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for the Leland Lane Kirkwood Avenue Sidewalk Improvements Project. Councilmember Moore.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 1021, 5-4, against.
Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget Finance voted for approval, 8-4, against.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
I move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. 2015-1022 authorizes Metro government to abandon 700 linear feet of 8-inch public sewer main and easement, 400 linear feet of existing water main, abandon and remove 429 linear feet of 6-inch DIP water main, replace a water main with 8-inch DIP in the same trench, except 100 linear feet of 6-inch DIP water main for fire hydrant leads and existing main reconnects, abandon 65 linear feet of a 6-inch DIP water main in Elkins Avenue, and abandon 65 linear feet of a 6-inch DIP water main located at various properties south of Charlotte Avenue. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1022, 5-4, against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Westerholm.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1039 abandons easement rights within a portion of 11th Avenue South right-of-way between Laurel Street and the north right-of-way of Pine Street, 11th Avenue South, between the south right-of-way of Pine Street and 12th Avenue South, and easements rights within a portion of 11th and 12th Avenue South right-of-way at the southwest corner of the intersection. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1039, 5-4, against.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Works approved Bill 1039, 4 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Before we move on to bills on third reading, we have a presentation. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. We have the American Heart Association with us tonight, and we have Miss Ellen Reynolds with us, which we're delighted to have. Each year we usually sponsor a proclamation to recognize Go for Red Month, which acknowledges women and the opportunities that they have for stroke, so they give us healthy tips on how to prevent that. So we appreciate it, and I've seen your work all across the city, so we're always happy to participate. And of course, last week, we were under weather, so that's why you're here this week, so we appreciate it. So, whereas the American Heart Association's Go for Red Women movement has been impacting the health of women for 12 years, as heart disease is the #1 killer of women yet, 80% of cardiac events can be prevented. Whereas cardiovascular disease causes 1 in 3 women's deaths each year, killing approximately 1 woman every minute. Whereas an estimated 44 million women in the U.S. are affected by cardiovascular diseases, and whereas 90% of women have 1 or more risk factors for developing heart disease, yet only 1 in 5 women believe that heart disease is their greatest health threat. Whereas since 1984, more women than men have died each year from heart disease. Whereas women are less likely to call 911 for themselves when experiencing symptoms of heart attack than it was someone else having one. Whereas only 43% of African American women and 44% of Hispanic women know that heart diseases are their greatest health risk, compared with 60% of Caucasian women. Whereas by increasing awareness, speaking about heart disease, and empowering women to reduce their risk for cardiovascular disease, we can save thousands of lives each year. Whereas Go for Red Women is asking all Americans to go red by wearing or speaking for red, which is what we're doing. Whereas Go for Red can give us pointers. Get your numbers. Ask your doctor to check your blood pressure and your cholesterol. Own your lifestyle. Stop smoking, lose weight, exercise, and eat healthy. Raise your voice. Advocate for more women-related research and education. Educate your family to make healthy food choices for you and your family. Teach your kids the importance of staying active. Don't be silent. Tell every woman you know that heart disease is the #1 killer, and we have to raise our voices for goforredwomen.org. Whereas it's fitting and proper that the Metropolitan Council hereby recognizes February as American Heart Month in recognition of the importance of ongoing fight against heart disease and the stroke, we designate Friday, February the 6th to be the National Red Day. The City of Nashville urges all citizens to show their support for women and fight against heart disease by commemorating this day with the color of red. Therefore, it be resolved that the council has has adopted this resolution, therefore requiring it, and it has my signature, Council Lady Gilmore and the other council members as well. Thank you once again for coming out. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for allowing us the opportunity. We definitely appreciate it. Ms. Reynolds, would you like to say something?
Just briefly, I want to thank you, Vice Mayor and members of the council, for this resolution and for your continued commitment. I definitely want to thank Councilwoman Gilmore. She's following in the long tradition her mother has of being a strong advocate for women knowing their numbers. That's the #1 thing you can do, is know your numbers. My 94-year-old grandmother is alive today because after 2 heart attacks and triple bypass, she's alive because my grandfather took it seriously because he adored the ground she walked on. He also had quintuple bypass after his heart attack. So men, take care of yourself too. We care about you as much as you care about us. So we just ask that you look after your mothers, your wives, your sisters, your daughters. Make sure they know that this is the #1 killer, but it's silent because no one thinks of this. It creeps up on you suddenly. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the council's support.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bill 2014-906 changes 2.79 acres from IR to SP zoning for properties located at 1309 3rd Avenue North and 1304 4th Avenue North to permit up to 256 multifamily units. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committee reports in, oh, we have a substitute? Oh, my gosh, okay. So let's see, I would like to move the substitute.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Opposed, no.
Okay.
Substitute passes.
Thank you. I would like to move the bill as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the bill as substituted, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2014-909 amends the Metro Zoning Code pertaining to short-term rental property. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Will we be taking this together with 951? Taking them separately. Okay, thank you. I believe all committee reports are in, so I'd like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Allen.
Just would like to remind everyone, this bill has arisen because our code is currently ambiguous about what to do with short-term rental property. After much consultation with many stakeholders, we've come up with general guidelines. This will result in the creation of a website that will clear up a lot of questions that people have about how they're supposed to go about paying their taxes. And we have begun the process of putting in place the mechanism so that the portion of those taxes that would be going to the general fund might be able to be designated to the Barnes Fund. That's not part of this bill, but we've begun those discussions, and I believe that we can make that part of this bill, which is something people have been advocating for. And finally, just to mention, this has been a very collaborative process with an awful lot of input from many different people. And again, I thank all the departments that worked with me on this. So with that, I renew my motion for approval.
Councilmember Holloman.
I, with all due respect to Council Lady Allen, I support what she's done. I support the process she's been through, and she and I have talked and we've met, but I just can't support this bill, and so I'm going to vote no.
Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a quick question for John Cooper, just to clear up a few things for some questions from constituents of mine. One of the questions that arose is that, you know, there are a lot of musicians in Nashville that use Airbnb to lease out their rooms when they're going on the road for 6 to 5 months. They don't mind paying their fair share of the taxes, but there may be some minor things that we may need to amend at a later date. And also, I'm in full support of the funds going to the Barnes Fund Initiative also. But my question to you is, at a later date, can we amend this to correct maybe some minor issues that may pop up?
Yes, the bill could be amended as it relates to taxes and who has to pay the taxes. That could not be part of this legislation. That's dictated by state law. But any other changes to the regulations as it relates to the zoning or the permitting process could be amended.
Okay. And also, I have a couple of large mansions that are participating in this process that have over, one has over 20 rooms, another one has over 25 rooms. And I don't know if it's been cleared up, and I apologize. I know Councilor Allen has done a lot of hard work on this, and I applaud her for that. Any structure with 25 or more rooms that's like a historic, like the Joy Mansion in my neighborhood. Because I heard that there was a capacity about only allowing a certain number of people there. If you could clarify that for some of my viewers at home, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yes, your limit, right now, only those structures that have 4 sleeping rooms or fewer could get a permit as a short-term rental property. A larger structure possibly could be converted to a bed and breakfast or something going through that process, but it would not be considered a short-term rental property.
Okay, and they have to July 1st to kind of do that conversion, right?
Correct. It'll they will begin and codes will begin enforcing the ordinance July 1st.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm in full support.
We will need a machine vote. Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
I have 34, 2 against, no abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-948, approves Amendment Number 3 to the 5 Points Redevelopment Plan. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports. I know one of them is federal grant.
Sorry. Too many buttons coming on. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning approved Bill 948, 440 against.
Councilmember Westerholm.
Federal grants review approved 4 in favor, 0 against. And with that, I would like to defer this one meeting.
We have a motion to defer one meeting. Councilman Tiger, do you wish to speak on the deferral?
Clarify with Mr. Cooper, the deferral, no other action can be done tonight, or can any possible amendments be considered at this point?
A deferral motion takes precedence over, any other motion. So if the bill is deferred, then there's no other action could be taken.
Thank you.
Tonight.
All in favor of deferral, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The deferral passes. BL 2014-951 amends the Metro Code pertaining to short-term rental property. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think all committee reports are in, so I move for approval, again with a very brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
Just this bill became a 2-part bill. This is simply the second part that explains the conditions for which the permit would be allowed. So I ask for your approval.
We have a motion and a second. We'll need a machine vote. Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
I have 34, 2 against, no abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2015-1000, changes .31 acres from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 1126 Shelton Avenue to permit up to 3 detached residential dwelling units. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1,540 against.
Councilmember Westerholm.
With that, I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1001 changes 4.74 acres from IR and IG to SP zoning for property at 1226 2nd Avenue North to permit a mixed-use development. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1001-540 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you. Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2015-1002, changes 361 acres from R10 to RS10 zoning for various properties located along Algonquin Trail, Barella Court, Bart Drive, Benzie Road, Best Court North, Brenda Court, Brenda Lane, Chisel Court, Cimarron Way, Colmont Court, Colmont Drive, Coleridge Court, Coleridge Drive, Creekside Drive, Darlene Drive, Delvin Drive, Emily Drive, Hayes Blackman Loop, Hill Bennett Circle, Jenny Murph Drive, Joanne Court, Karen Ray Drive, Keeley Drive, Leishan Court, Lindy Murph Court, Lucre Lane, McClendon Court, McClendon Drive, Ocala Drive, Otusculum Road, Olivia Drive, Packard Drive, Panamint Drive, Pennybank Drive, Richard Irwin Court, Robert Joyce Drive, Shacklet Lane Court, Sheila Drive, Sheeman Court, Sheben Drive, Shuford Court, Susan Drive, Tomarin Court, Tomarin Road, Towns Road, Tusculum Court, Tusculum Road, Valley Green Court, Valley Green Drive, and Valley Way. Councilmember Potts.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I think that's all of Antioch there, I think.
I believe so.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1002-50 as substituted.
Councilmember Potts.
I would like to move the bill as substitute, please.
First, move the substitute.
We got to move the substitute first, sorry.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman.
Move the bill as substituted.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1003 changes 2.36 from R40 to SP zoning for property located at 2001 Woodmont Boulevard to permit physical therapy, medical office, and associated uses in the existing building. Councilmember Todd.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move approval.
I need one committee report. Councilman Hunt.
Thank you very much. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1003-540 against.
Thank you. Councilman Todd.
Thank you. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1005 changes .57 acres from RS40 to SP zoning for properties located at 5704 Harding Pike and to amend a portion of the property located at 6030 B Sedbury Road to construct up to 4 detached residential units. Councilmember Evans.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1005-540 against.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans.
Hunt.
My pleasure.
Move approval.
Have a motion. Are you sure it wasn't deferred by rule?
I wasn't told that.
the action the committee took. That was the action the planning committee took.
That was the action the planning committee took.
Could we suspend the rules then and just move on ahead, please?
Without objection.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules? Seeing none, Councilmember Evans.
I'd move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2015-1006 changes 17.5 acres from R40 to SP zoning for various properties located along Church Street East, Valley View Road, and Cloverland Drive to permit up to 78 single-family residential units. Councilmember Tiger.
Vice Mayor, before I make my motion, I got distracted. A couple of the swimsuit models from Sports Illustrated called for Councilman Garrett. They wanted their boots back. They're the cutest things I've ever seen, and I can understand why they'd want them back. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Planning and zoning approved Bill 1006, 4 for, 1 against, as substituted.
Thank you, Councilmember Tiger.
On behalf of the sponsor who could not be here based on the rescheduled meeting, I move to defer one meeting.
We have a motion and a second for one meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Deferral passes. BL 2015-1007 amends the Metro Code relative to employee benefits in order to comply with federal requirements for qualified plans. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committees reporting and approving, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1008 amends the Metro Code pertaining to outdoor pet tethering. Councilmember Bennett.
Move approval with a brief comment.
Okay, but she doesn't. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would just like to say, when I first came on to council, Councilman Garrett told me that the general frame of thought was, don't touch my dog. And every time I have animal legislation, I think of Councilmember Garrett in that. So thank you, Councilman Garrett, for your advice and guidance over the years. I would like to thank all of my colleagues, fellow sponsors, the folks in the back with the green shirts on and the other supporters back there. I really do appreciate it. This has been a long process. I hesitate to say it's just been 2 years. It sure feels like 3 years that we've worked on this. Just searching around for the best thing to do to have some responsible tethering. And we have tried thinking through just so many ways of doing this. And I just want to thank Metro Animal Care and Control and the Health Department. They have been great to just sit down at the table and talk about what's enforceable. Our legal person, John Cooper, has just been amazing to sit through these probably incredibly boring meetings and just give us some advisement as to what might be the best. So this is what we put together. I know it's not perfect, but it's certainly what we're trying to do to improve the lives of animals in Nashville. Chaining is not an attractive thing. I have fostered for years. I hesitate to say I fostered probably 1,000 dogs and cats. Maybe that's a little high, but I have seen every kind of critter under the sun, it seems like, and they all have different little personalities, and some of them are escape artists. So as much as I would like to say no tethering at all, it's just really not feasible. I have had those that will go over, under, through. It doesn't matter. They're going to get through. So I think tethering, we need it to some degree, and we've tried to put some responsible restraints on there. So I just want to thank everyone for their participation in this. I do want to ask for your support in voting for this. I do also want to make a personal request, since I have the floor, and I appreciate that, Vice Mayor. But if you care about this issue, if you want to help, my request is that you go out and purchase the appropriate cabling system and donate it to Metro Animal Care and Control, because I would love for our officers to be able to go out on their trucks, and when they do make these calls and they find dogs on chains and not meeting the requirements, that they have some in their truck that they can say, here, someone donated so that you could have something to use. We have found them to be very economical on Amazon. They're selling one rated for 250-pound dog, 40 feet long for $20. It's not expensive. I went to the hardware store today, not Home Depot and Lowe's, the local hardware store, and I was amazed at how expensive the chains really are. The cables are much more economical in the end. So I know I've gone on and I don't normally talk much, but I appreciate you, and I do ask for your vote in support of dogs in Nashville. Thank you.
Councilmember Dominy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and I appreciate the passion of folks to protect animals here in the city. I have an amendment I would like to offer. I'll have to suspend the rules to do so.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules?
That's fine. I'll discuss the bill itself. I appreciate the desire to make it better on our dogs. The challenge is I have a dog that was rescued. Her name is Lucy. 4 different times I've tied her with the cabling tether that the sponsor of this bill's asked about. In fact, I have them here to illustrate. Here's one. She chewed through. This is rated for a 65-pound dog. She was under 40 pounds at the time. She chewed through it. We got more. We got one rated for a 100-pound dog. She chewed through it. We have one right here rated for a 250-pound animal. She chewed through it in less than a month. And so my concern is this bill as currently drafted endangers animals. It endangers my animal. And I'm sure as one of a 40-member body, if we have a situation, in my case it does that, it endangers others across the city. And not only that, in the event one of those animals that was off of their tether because they've chewed through it was loose, they could injure an animal, another animal or a person. And so I request that the bill be deferred and actually bring in folks, besides the folks at the American Kennel Club, which we have a letter on our desk indicating some other concerns with the legislation, bring in all the stakeholders, craft a bill that addresses those shortcomings and potential unintended consequences of this bill. I asked about this before first reading, and I was told by the sponsor that my chain would, quote, likely be okay. That's not what the law says. That concerns me. And I just ask that we defer this and consider it with all the stakeholders involved and come up with something that actually protects all of our animals, not just a select few.
Councilmember Berry.
I just want to say I rise in support of Council Lady Bennett's bill. I know that she has spent incredible amount of time and hours on this. She has worked with lots of different constituencies, and the fact that she's brought this bill before us today, I'm very thankful, and I plan to support this, and I thank her for all of her hard work.
Councilmember Duvall. Order, please, or we'll have to clear the chamber.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And Council Lady Bennett, nobody cares about animals more than you do. And I admire you for your work that you've done. And I'm not speaking against this particular legislation, but I do have a concern that the American Kennel Club has sent the letter that they have that's on everyone's desk. They've given us a number of reasons and a number of recommendations. I do not know Sheila Goff. I don't have a clue who she is, but I do know who Dick Dickerson is, and he's president of the American Kennel Club. And Dick asked his staff to give me a call and asked me to at least read this letter and understand what they are requesting. I would ask the sponsor to give us some type of deferral and see if there's some of this that needs to be or maybe be able to be incorporated into the bill. Second of all, is it possible for us to put this into the record? And that would be all that I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Previous question.
We have a motion, a second on previous question. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll have a machine vote. On the bill.
Motion to approve.
No motion was ever made.
There was no motion for deferral by anyone, so it is on the bill. Madam Clerk?
I have 34, 2 against, no abstentions.
Hang on. Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor, I make the motion to reconsider.
We have a motion. There's 2 seconds.
There's 3.
3.
There's 5.
Raise your hands high, please.
For a motion to reconsider, the maker of the motion had to have voted with the prevailing side. The 4 seconds do not have to voted with the prevailing side. So if Councilman Dominy voted in support of the bill, then that's a proper motion. We had the 5 seconds, so it will be on the agenda for next Tuesday to vote on the motion to reconsider.
Thank you. Next is BL 2015-1011, approves the lease agreement between Metro Government and STEM Preparatory Academy. Councilmember Moore.
With all committee reports in, I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1012, abandons approximately 90 linear feet of existing sewer easement and retain a portion of the existing sewer easement for property located at 627 Gallatin Pike. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committees approving, I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1013 abandons 230 linear feet of 8-inch sanitary sewer line and easement and accepts approximately 1,215 feet of 8-inch PVC sanitary sewer, 1,074 linear feet of 8-inch DIP water main, and 369 linear feet of 4-inch water main for properties located at 1804 and 1808 Gray Bar Lane, 3505 Hopkins Street, 1919 and 1921 Woodmont Boulevard. Councilmember Westerholm.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports?
All in.
All in. On move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2015-1014 authorizes Metro Water and Sewage Services to participate with Vanderbilt University to provide public water service improvements for proposed construction located at 19th Avenue South, as well as properties in the area. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all committees approving, I move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Claiborne, you wish to speak?
I'd like to be recognized after the vote.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And as just a personal privilege, we're here because last week we had a whole season of winter crammed into 7 days. And so I personally want to express my appreciation to the Metro employees who did a yeoman's job in dealing with the weather. I want to thank the mayor's office for the communication that was constantly coming out that we could provide to neighborhood groups to help them understand what was going on, what was being done, and where help could be obtained. And I'm especially admire the crews from Public Works and from Water and the NES crews and the public safety personnel who were out in the cold and working at night and just doing grunt work, really. And so I'm speaking and saying thank you on a personal basis, and I hope that, that reflects the attitude of a lot of other members in the chamber here. But I just want to go on record as saying thank you to our public employees.
And I just want to say thank you to each of you who came in sick, who stayed till the very end to help us guarantee that we had a quorum. Thank you very much. I'd hate for us to not have one for the first time in 7 years. So thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye. Okay.